Hair holds memory, and my grandmother taught me that when I was barely 5 years old, sitting between her knees as she wove my dark hair into intricate patterns that seemed to defy gravity. She said every braid told a story. Every twist carried the history of the women who came before us. Every style was a language that only certain people could read. Hair is not just hair, she would say, her weathered fingers moving with impossible speed. It is connection. It is identity. It is love made visible. Baba and Ice passed away 6 months ago, leaving me her recipes, her stories, and a collection of braiding techniques that existed nowhere in any book or video. Styles passed down through generations of women in our family. Patterns that originated in the mountains where Turkey meets Russia, in the villages where cultures collided and merged and created something entirely unique. I opened my salon in Brooklyn 3 years ago. Sarah's Touch. A small space where I specialized in braiding and styling, where I could honor my grandmother's legacy one client at a time. Business was steady. Life was quiet until a little girl with tangled blonde hair changed everything. It was a Saturday afternoon in November. The salon was empty, my last appointment having canceled, and I was considering closing early when the door chimed. I looked up from my phone and saw them. A woman in an expensive coat, clearly a nanny or assistant from her demeanor, holding the hand of a small girl who looked absolutely miserable. The child was maybe 6 years old, with hair the color of winter sunlight that hung in tangled, matted waves past her shoulders. She had been crying recently. I could see the tracks on her cheeks. "I am so sorry to bother you," the woman said, her accent thick and Russian. "We have been to 7 salons today. No one can help." I saw your sign and thought maybe, what seems to be the problem? Mila refuses to let anyone touch her hair. She screams and cries, and it has become so tangled that I am afraid we will have to cut it all off. But her father will be furious if we cut it. He says it reminds him of someone important. The woman looked exhausted. "Please. You are our last hope." I crouched down to the girl's level. "Mila." A beautiful name. "Hi, Mila. I am Sarah. That is a lot of tangles you have there." She looked at me with pale blue eyes full of distrust. "Everyone hurts me. They pull and yank and it hurts and I hate it. I understand. Some people do not know how to be gentle." I kept my voice soft, unthreatening. "Can I tell you a secret?" She hesitated, then nodded slightly. "My grandmother used to say that hair has feelings. That it knows when someone is trying to help it and when someone is just trying to force it. If you are patient, if you are kind, hair will cooperate. But if you fight it, it fights back. Hair does not have feelings." That is silly. Maybe. But my grandmother was very wise. She taught me special ways to work with tangles. Ways that do not hurt. I held out my hand. "Would you like to try? If it hurts even once, you can tell me to stop and I will. I promise." Mila looked at my hand, then at her exhausted nanny, then back at me. Something in my face must have convinced her because she slowly placed her small fingers in my palm. "Okay. But if you hurt me, I will scream very loud." "That seems fair." I led her to my most comfortable chair, the one with extra cushions that I kept for nervous clients. The nanny collapsed into the waiting area, looking like she might fall asleep from sheer relief. I started with a gentle scalp massage, letting Mila relax before I even touched the tangles. I talked to her while I worked, asking about her favorite things, her school, her hobbies. She was guarded at first, answering in monosyllables, but slowly she began to open up. "I like drawing," she said. "And horses. I wish I had a horse, but Papa says we live in the city and horses belong in the country. Horses are wonderful. I used to ride when I was young. My grandmother lived in a village with many horses." "Where?" "Turkey. Place near the mountains. Very different from New York. My aunt used to tell me about mountains too. Before she went away." "Your aunt." "Papa's sister. Aunt Katia. I never met her, but Papa has pictures. She had hair like mine." Mila's voice dropped. Papa gets sad when he talks about her. So I do not ask anymore. I filed this information away, working through her tangles with the patience my grandmother had drilled into me. Slow, gentle, treating each knot as a puzzle to be solved rather than an obstacle to be forced. After an hour, her hair was finally free. Soft, shining waves of pale gold that fell to her waist. There. All done. Did I hurt you? Mila's eyes were wide. No. Not even once. She touched her hair with wonder. It feels so nice. Like silk. Your hair is beautiful. It just needed someone who knew how to listen to it. Can you braid it? Please? I love braids, but nobody does them right. They are always too tight, or they fall out, or they look boring. What kind of braid would you like? Something special. Something like a princess. I thought about the styles my grandmother had taught me. Most of them were too complex for a child this young, too heavy for hair this fine. But there was one. A style Baban had called Yeti Nir Tasi. Crown of 7 rivers. Delicate enough for a child but intricate enough to look magical that I had not done this braid in years. It required a specific technique, a particular weaving pattern that my grandmother said originated in the mountains between Turkey and Russia. She claimed only certain families knew it, passed down from mother to daughter through generations. I know something special, I said. A crown braid. Very old, very rare. My grandmother taught me. Would you like to try? Mila nodded eagerly. I began to work, my fingers remembering patterns my mind had almost forgotten. The braid started at the crown and wove downward in 7 distinct sections, each one flowing into the next like rivers joining the sea. It was intricate, beautiful, and when I finished, Mila looked like something out of a fairy tale. Oh, she breathed, staring at herself in the mirror. Oh, it is so pretty. I am a real princess now. You were always a princess. Now you just have the crown to prove it. She laughed, a bright, pure sound that made my heart swell. The nanny approached, her mouth falling open when she saw the result. That is... I have never seen anything like that. How did you, family technique? My grandmother taught me. Mr. Volkov needs to see this. He will be so pleased. She pulled out her phone, snapping pictures of Mila from every angle. We should go, Mila. Your father will be home soon. Can we come back? Please? I want Sarah to do my hair always. That is up to your father. They paid and left, Mila waving enthusiastically through the window as they walked away. I waved back, smiling, already mentally calculating when I could fit them into my schedule again. I had no idea that my life was about to change completely. The next day was Sunday. The salon was closed. I was in my apartment above the shop, drinking coffee and reading when someone knocked on the street door. Not the salon door. The private entrance that led directly to my home. No one used that entrance except delivery people, and I was not expecting any packages. I went downstairs cautiously, peering through the security peephole. What I saw made my blood run cold. A man stood on my doorstep. Tall, powerfully built, with close-cropped platinum hair and eyes the color of a frozen lake. He wore a black fitted shirt that did nothing to hide the muscles beneath, and I could see tattoos creeping up his neck, disappearing beneath his collar. Behind him stood 2 more men, equally intimidating, clearly security. Everything about him screamed danger. Everything about him screamed run, but he was holding a photograph. And even through the distorted peephole, I recognized the subject. A young girl with a 7 rivers crown braid. Mila. I opened the door. Miss Yilmaz. His voice was deep, accented, controlled in a way that suggested he was holding something back. My name is Alexei Volkov. You did my daughter's hair yesterday. I remember. Is something wrong? May I come in? There is something I need to discuss with you. Something private. Every instinct told me to refuse. Close the door, call the police, hide until this terrifying man went away, but his eyes... Beneath the ice, beneath the control, I saw something else. Something desperate. Something broken. Your men wait outside. Agreed. I stepped back and let him in. He walked through my small apartment, taking in the Turkish rugs, the photographs of my grandmother, the shelves filled with braiding supplies and hair accessories. His eyes lingered on a picture of Baba and Ice, something flickering in his expression. You said your grandmother taught you that braid. The one you did for Mila. Yes. She called it the Crown of Seven Rivers. A family style from her village. Where was this village? In the mountains. Near the border with Georgia. Why does this matter? He did not answer. Instead, he pulled out his phone and showed me a photograph. A girl, maybe 15 years old, with long blonde hair woven into an elaborate crown braid. The same braid. The exact same pattern I had put in Mila's hair yesterday. This is my sister Katia, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. She disappeared 18 years ago. She was 15. I was 17. She went to the market one morning and never came home. I stared at the photograph, at the braid that was identical to what I had learned from my grandmother. I do not understand. How could she know? That is what I need to find out. His pale eyes met mine, and I saw the 18 years of grief and searching and desperate hope contained within them. Because that braid, Miss Yilmaz, does not exist anywhere. I have searched. I have hired people to search. There is no record of it in any book, any video, any salon anywhere in the world. My grandmother said it was rare. Only certain families. My sister learned it from someone she never told us about. And now you appear doing the same braid for my daughter, claiming your grandmother taught you. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. So I am going to ask you once, and I need you to tell me the truth. His voice dropped to something raw and dangerous. Who taught your grandmother? And what do they know about what happened to my sister? I should have been afraid. A man who radiated violence like heat from a fire was standing in my apartment, demanding answers about my dead grandmother and his missing sister. His bodyguards waited outside. His reputation, whatever it was, clearly preceded him based on the fear I had seen in his nanny's eyes yesterday, but I was not afraid. I was curious. I do not know anything about your sister, I said honestly. I have never heard the name Katia Volkov before yesterday when Mila mentioned her. But your grandmother knew the braid. Yes. She taught me when I was a child. She said it was a family tradition. Where did she learn it? I do not know. She never said. I assumed from her mother or her grandmother before that. I moved to my bookshelf, pulling down a worn photo album. She grew up in a village called Ardahan. It is in northeastern Turkey, very close to the borders with Georgia and Armenia. Cultures there are mixed. Turkish, Georgian, Armenian, even Russian influences. Near the Caucasus Mountains. Yes. Why? Alexei was quiet for a moment, processing. My family is originally from Vladikavkaz, North Ossetia. Also in the Caucasus region, but on the Russian side. So our families came from the same mountains. Different sides of the border, but the same region. I opened the album, showing him photographs of my grandmother as a young woman. Maybe the braid originated there. Maybe it spread through different communities. Then why does no one else know it? I have spent 18 years searching for any trace of that pattern. Hired experts. Consulted historians. Nothing. Maybe it was kept secret on purpose. My grandmother always said some things were not meant to be shared widely. That certain traditions belonged only to those who earned them. He studied the photographs with intense focus, his jaw tight. Then he stopped at one image, his whole body going rigid. This woman. Who is she? I looked at the photograph he was pointing to. My grandmother, maybe 40 years old, standing beside another woman I did not recognize. They were arm in arm, smiling, both wearing elaborate braided hairstyles. I do not know. I have never seen that picture before. I took the album, examining it more closely. On the back, in my grandmother's faded handwriting, Ice and Anya. Istanbul, 1987. Anya, Alexei breathed. My grandmother's name was Anya. Anya Volkov. The room seemed to spin. Your grandmother... She died when I was 10. But before that, she lived in Istanbul for several years. My grandfather sent her there after some trouble at home. His voice was strained. She never spoke about her time there. None of us knew what she did or who she knew. She knew my grandmother. They were friends. I stared at the photograph, at these two women from different worlds who had somehow found each other. They must have shared the braid, taught each other. That is why both our families know it. But that does not explain Katia. My grandmother died before Katia was born. She could not have taught her. Maybe she taught your mother? Or your father? Neither of them knew the braid. I asked them after Katia disappeared. They had no idea where she learned it. Alexei's hands clenched into fists. Katia was secretive the last few months before she vanished. Going somewhere she would not tell us about. Meeting someone. We thought maybe a boyfriend, but you never found out? I never found anything. No trace. No body. Nothing. His voice cracked slightly on the last word. 18 years of nothing. I thought about what it would mean to lose someone like that. No closure. No answers. Just an endless void where a person used to be. I want to help you, I said quietly. I do not know if I can, but I want to try. Why? You do not know me. You do not know my family. Why would you involve yourself in this? 'Cause my grandmother kept secrets too. 'Cause there is clearly a connection between our families that neither of us understood. And because your daughter looked at me yesterday like I was the first person in years who did not hurt her. I met his pale eyes steadily. Whatever happened to Katia, whatever connection exists between your grandmother and mine, I need to know. For my own sake as much as yours. He studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, some of the tension left his shoulders. You are either very brave or very foolish. My grandmother used to say there was no difference. Something that might have been a smile flickered at the corner of his mouth. My grandmother said the same thing. Then maybe they really were friends. We spent the next 3 hours going through my grandmother's belongings. I had boxes of her things stored in my spare room, items I had not been able to sort through since her death. Letters, photographs, journals written in Turkish that I had been meaning to translate but never found the time. Alexei proved surprisingly patient for a man who seemed built for violence. He sat cross-legged on my floor, carefully examining each item I handed him, treating my grandmother's possessions with a respect I had not expected. Your grandmother kept detailed records, he observed, flipping through a journal dated 1985. She believed in documenting everything. She said memories fade, but paper lasts forever. Here. He pointed to an entry. She mentioned someone named I met with it today. She is struggling. I wish I could do more to help. For Anya? Possibly. When was this written? January 1985. Your grandmother would have been in Istanbul then? I think so. I will have to check the dates. Kept reading. There is more. It taught me a new pattern today. 7 rivers meeting at the sea. She says it is from her mother's village, that it carries a blessing for women who have lost their way. Lost their way, I repeated. That sounds like it has meaning beyond just styling. My grandmother lost a daughter. My aunt. She died young before my father was born. Grandmother never recovered from the grief. Alexei's voice was heavy. Maybe that is why she connected with your grandmother. Shared grief. Shared understanding. 2 women from different worlds, both carrying loss, finding each other in a foreign city. I felt tears prick at my eyes. That is actually beautiful. It would be more beautiful if it helped us find Katia. We kept searching. The journals revealed more about my grandmother's friendship with Anya, but nothing that directly connected to Katia's disappearance. By evening, we were both exhausted and frustrated. I should go, Alexei said, standing and stretching. Mila will be wondering where I am. Of course. I did not mean to keep you so long. You did not keep me. I stayed because I wanted to. He looked around at the scattered boxes, the photographs spread across my floor. Thank you. For your help. For not calling the police when a stranger showed up at your door demanding answers. You are not a stranger. You are Mila's father. And apparently our grandmothers were friends. I walked him to the door. Will you come back? I would like to keep searching. There are more boxes I have not gone through yet. I would like that. He paused at the threshold, turning back to face me. Mila has not stopped talking about you. About the princess braid, about how you did not hurt her, about how she wants to come back. She is welcome anytime. I enjoyed her company. She does not trust easily. Her mother. He stopped, jaw tightening. Her mother left when Mila was 3. Just walked away. Said she did not want to be a mother anymore. That must have been devastating for both of you. For her more than me. She stopped trusting women after that. Nannies, teachers, anyone female who tried to get close. She pushes them away. But she did not push me away. No. She did not. His pale eyes held mine with an intensity that made my heart race. I do not know what you did differently. I do not know why she responded to you. But I am grateful. I just treated her like a person. Listened to her. Respected her boundaries. Simple things that apparently no one else thought to try. He smiled, small and sad. I will bring her back this week. If you are available. For Mila, I will make myself available. Good. He stepped outside, then paused again. And Sarah? Thank you. For looking. For caring. It has been a long time since anyone cared about finding Katia except me. We will find her. Or at least we will find the truth. I promise. He nodded once, sharply, then walked away into the evening. I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. What had I just agreed to? Helping a dangerous man search for his long-lost sister? Inserting myself into a world I knew nothing about? Forming connections with a broken child and her broken father, but even as doubt crept in, I knew I could not walk away. The mystery was too compelling. Connection too strange. And somewhere in my grandmother's boxes lay answers that had been waiting decades to be found, and I just had to find them. The week that followed was the strangest of my life. Mila came to the salon 3 times, each visit longer than the last. I taught her simple braiding techniques, let her practice on mannequin heads, listened to her chatter about school and her favorite cartoons and the imaginary horse she had named Snowflake. She bloomed under the attention. The guarded, distrustful child I had met became brighter, more open, more willing to laugh. Her nanny reported that Mila was sleeping better, eating better, even smiling more at home. You are magic, Irina told me. Whatever you are doing, please do not stop. I am just being her friend. She does not have friends. She has nannies and tutors and security guards. You are the first person she has chosen to let in since her mother left. The weight of that responsibility settled on my shoulders. This little girl was trusting me. Her father was trusting me. Whatever game I had stepped into, I could not afford to lose. Alexei visited twice, both times after Mila's appointments, staying late into the evening to search through my grandmother's things. We found more references to Anya, more entries about their friendship, but still nothing about Katia. This is useless, he said on the second night, frustration edging his voice. We are going in circles. Not useless. We know they were close. We know they shared the braid. That is more than you knew a week ago. It is not enough. It is never enough. He dropped his head into his hands. 18 years, Sarah. I have been searching for 18 years. Sometimes I think she is dead. Sometimes I think she ran away. Sometimes I think someone took her and she is still out there waiting for me to find her. You blame yourself. I was her older brother. I was supposed to protect her. And I failed. I moved closer, sitting beside him on my floor. You were 17. A child yourself. Whatever happened to Katia, it was not your fault. You do not know that. I know that guilt does not bring people back. I know that punishing yourself does not solve mysteries. I touched his arm gently. I know that you have spent 18 years carrying a weight that would have broken most people. That takes strength, not weakness. He looked at me, something raw and vulnerable in his pale eyes. Why are you doing this? Really? You could have sent me away that first day. Could have refused to help. Could have stayed safe in your little salon, away from my world and my problems. 'Cause my grandmother kept secrets from me. 'Cause I need to understand who she really was. And because I hesitated. Because I think we were meant to find each other. You and Mila and me. I think whatever connected our grandmothers is still connecting us, pulling us together for a reason. You believe in fate. I believe in patterns. In threads that weave through generations, connecting people in ways they do not understand. I smiled softly. I am a braider, remember? Seeing how separate strands come together to make something beautiful is literally what I do. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. You are extraordinary, he said quietly. I do not know how I got lucky enough to have my daughter wander into your salon. Maybe it was not luck. Maybe it was the grandmothers still looking out for us from wherever they are. Maybe. His hand lingered on my cheek. Or maybe some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, and we should just be grateful for what we find along the way. My heart was racing. And what have you found? Someone who does not run from monsters. Someone who sees a broken child and heals her with patience and hair braids. Someone who makes me feel. He stopped, pulling his hand away. I should go. This is inappropriate. Why? Because you are not part of my world. You are good and kind and clean, and my world is none of those things. Getting close to me is dangerous. I have been in danger since the moment I let you through my door. If something was going to scare me away, it would have happened already. That is what worries me. He stood, grabbing his coat. I will see you when I bring Mila this weekend. Thank you for your help, Sarah. For everything. He left before I could respond, leaving me alone with my grandmother's memories and a heart that was beating far too fast for comfort. This was a mistake. Getting involved with this man, this family, this mystery that had consumed 18 years of his life, but as I looked at the photograph of our grandmothers, arm in arm and smiling, I knew I was already too deep to turn back. Whatever secrets they had kept, I was going to find them. Whatever happened to Katia Volkov, I was going to help solve it, and whatever was growing between me and Alexei, I would deal with that when the time came. The breakthrough came 2 weeks later. I had been going through my grandmother's things every night, searching for any mention of Katia or any clue that might explain the connection. Most of what I found was mundane. Recipes, letters to relatives in Turkey, photographs of people I did not recognize. Then I found the locked box. It was small, wooden, hidden inside a larger box of fabric scraps and sewing supplies. I had almost thrown it away thinking it was empty until I heard something rattle inside. The lock was old but sturdy. I tried every key I could find in my grandmother's belongings, but none fit. Finally, in desperation, I brought it to Alexei. Can you open this? He examined it with expert eyes. Old Turkish craftsmanship, probably from the 60s or 70s. He pulled a small tool from his pocket and worked at the lock for less than 30 seconds. It clicked open. Should I be concerned that you carry lockpicks? You should be grateful. Now let us see what your grandmother was hiding. Inside the box were letters. Dozens of them, tied with faded ribbon, written in a mixture of Turkish and Russian. And beneath the letters, photographs. Recent photographs. Photographs that could not have been taken more than 20 years ago. My hands trembled as I spread them across the table. A young woman with blonde hair and pale blue eyes, smiling at the camera. The same woman holding a baby. The same woman, older now, standing in front of a small house with flowers in the window. Katya, Alexei breathed. That is Katya. These pictures, she looks older. She looks alive. I picked up one of the letters, struggling to read the mixed languages. These are from her. To my grandmother. She was writing to Baba and Ice. Alexei grabbed the letters, scanning them with desperate speed. His face went through a dozen emotions. Shock. Confusion. Rage. Hope. She ran away, he finally said, his voice hollow. She was not taken. She ran. What do the letters say? She writes about escaping, about needing to disappear, about someone named. He stopped, his face going pale. About someone named Dmitri. Who is Dmitri? My father's business partner. He was like an uncle to us growing up. Alexei's hands were shaking. She says he hurt her. That he had been hurting her for years. That she told our parents and they did not believe her. The words hung in the air like poison. She went to my grandmother for help, I said slowly, piecing it together. Bobbin must have been teaching her the braid. That is how they knew each other. And when Katya needed to escape, your grandmother helped her disappear. Alexei set down the letters, his expression devastated. All these years I searched, and she was alive. She was safe. And your grandmother knew. She was protecting her. From her own family. From me. He stood abruptly, pacing the small room. I would have believed her. If she had told me about Dmitri, I would have believed her. I would have killed him myself. Maybe that is what she was afraid of. You were 17. If you had killed him, your life would have been destroyed. My life was destroyed anyway. 18 years of guilt and grief and wondering if my sister was dead in a ditch somewhere. His voice cracked. She let me suffer. She let my mother suffer. My mother died not knowing what happened to her daughter. Your mother knew. Alexei froze. What? I held up another letter, this one in different handwriting. This is not from Katya. This is from someone named Vera. It says, I have told your mother the truth. She has chosen to keep it from your father and brother. She believes it is safer this way. Vera was my grandmother Anya's sister. She died 10 years ago. Alexei took the letter, reading it with trembling hands. My mother knew. She knew Katya was alive and she never told me. She was protecting everyone. Katya from Dmitri. You from doing something that would ruin your life. The family from scandal. Protecting us by letting us grieve a living person. He laughed bitterly. That is not protection. That is cruelty. I moved to him, placing my hand on his arm. It was an impossible situation. Your grandmother, my grandmother, your mother, your Aunt Vera. They formed a network to keep Katya safe. They made choices that hurt you, yes, but they also saved your sister's life. I need to find her. His eyes met mine, wild with desperate hope. These letters, these photographs. There must be clues about where she is. There are. I picked up one of the more recent photos, turning it over. On the back, in my grandmother's handwriting, Katya and little Alexei. Portland, 2019. She named her son after you, I said softly. Alexei made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. She has a son. I have a nephew. She never forgot you. Even when she could not contact you, she kept you close. He pulled me into an embrace so sudden and fierce it stole my breath. His arms wrapped around me, his face buried in my hair, his whole body shaking with 18 years of grief finally finding release. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for finding this. For not giving up. For caring about a stranger's missing sister. She is not a stranger. She is connected to my family, too. I held him tightly. We will find her together. We will bring her home. The search for Katia took 3 weeks. Alexei hired investigators, pulled strings, called in favors from people I suspected I did not want to know about. I provided what I could from my grandmother's letters, piecing together a timeline of Katia's movements over the years. She had gone first to Istanbul, staying with contacts of my grandmother. Then to Germany, then to Canada, finally settling in Portland, Oregon, where she had been living for the past 15 years under a new name. She built a whole life, Alexei said, reviewing the investigator's report. A husband, 2 children, a job as a teacher. She erased Katia Volkov completely. She had to. She was hiding from Dmitri. Dmitri died 12 years ago. Heart attack. Alexei's voice was cold. I would have preferred to kill him myself, but at least he is gone. Then she is safe now. She could come home if she wanted. Maybe she does not want. Maybe she has moved on completely. Maybe seeing me would only remind her of everything she escaped from. Or maybe she has been waiting for you to find her. Hoping you would. Afraid to reach out herself. I took his hand. There is only one way to know for certain. He looked at our intertwined fingers, something soft crossing his hard features. Come with me. What? To Portland. When I go to find her. Come with me. His pale eyes held mine. I do not think I can do this alone. Face her after all these years. Hear whatever she needs to tell me. I need someone there. Someone who understands. Of course I will come. His relief was palpable. Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me. I think I do. I squeezed his hand. Family is everything. Even when it is complicated. Even when it hurts. We flew to Portland on a rainy Tuesday. Mila stayed behind with Irina, but not before extracting promises from both of us to call her every night and bring her back a present. She had taken to calling me Miss Sarah with a possessive pride that made my heart ache. She loves you, Alexei said on the plane. I have never seen her attached to anyone like this. I love her too. She is an easy child to love when you take the time to see her. Most people do not take the time. Then most people are fools. He smiled, small but genuine. These moments were becoming more frequent. Cracks in his armor that let light through. The address led us to a quiet suburban street lined with trees just beginning to turn autumn colors. The house was modest but well kept, with a garden full of flowers and a child's bicycle abandoned on the front lawn. Alexei sat in the rental car, staring at the house, unable to move. What if she does not want to see me? Then we respect that and leave. But at least you will know. What if she hates me? For not protecting her? For not seeing what was happening. You were a child. The adults in your life failed both of you. I touched his cheek, turning his face toward mine. Whatever happens in there, you are not alone. I am right here. He leaned into my touch, closing his eyes. I do not deserve you. That is not for you to decide. We got out of the car together. Walked up the path together. And when Alexei rang the doorbell, I held his hand so tightly my fingers went white. The door opened out. A woman in her early 30s stood there, blonde hair streaked with gray, pale blue eyes that widened with shock when she saw who was on her doorstep. Alyosha. Her voice was barely a whisper, using the childhood nickname only family would know. How did you, after all this time, Katia? His voice broke on her name. I found you. I finally found you. She burst into tears and threw herself into his arms. I stepped back, giving them space, watching 18 years of separation dissolve in a single embrace. They held each other and sobbed, speaking in rapid Russian I could not follow, touching each other's faces as if confirming the other was real. When they finally pulled apart, Katia noticed me for the first time. Who is this? This is Sarah. Her grandmother was ice. Kadia's hand flew to her mouth. Baba and Ice? She helped me, she saved my life, I know. We found your letters. That is how we found you. She died, Kadia said, tears streaming down her face. I heard from Vera years ago. I wanted to come to the funeral, but I was too afraid. She kept your secret until the end. Kept you safe. Kadia pulled me into an embrace I did not expect. Thank you. Thank you for bringing my brother back to me. Thank you for continuing what your grandmother started. I did not do much. I just found the box. You found more than that. She pulled back, looking between me and Alexei with knowing eyes. Come inside. Both of you. I have so much to tell you. And I want you to meet my family. We spent 3 days in Portland. 3 days of stories and tears and slowly rebuilding a bridge that had been burned 18 years ago. I met Kadia's husband James, a kind man who knew everything about her past and loved her anyway. I met her children, 12-year-old Alexei and 9-year-old Rosa, named after the people Kadia had lost. Rosa for Baban's friend, Kadia explained when I asked. The woman who introduced them. Who started the chain that eventually saved me? There was another woman? In Istanbul. Another braider. She taught them both the Seven Rivers crown, said it was a blessing passed between women who protect each other. Kadia smiled sadly. I never met her, but Baba and I said she was the heart of their little network. The one who saw women in trouble and found ways to help them. I thought about my grandmother, about the secrets she had kept, about the lives she had apparently saved without anyone knowing. She was extraordinary, I said quietly. They all were. A group of women from different countries, different backgrounds, connected by hair braids and a shared mission to protect those who could not protect themselves. Kadia took my hand. And now you are part of that legacy, whether you meant to be or not. On our last night in Portland, Alexei and I walked along the waterfront. The rain had stopped, leaving the air clean and fresh, the city lights reflecting on the wet pavement. We had barely spoken all day, both of us processing everything we had learned. She forgives me, Alexei finally said. For not knowing. For not saving her. She says there was nothing I could have done. She is right. I know. But it does not erase the guilt. Not completely. He stopped walking, turning to face me. She also said something else. About you. What? She said our grandmothers would be happy. Seeing us together. She said they spent their lives connecting people, protecting people, and that bringing you and me together was probably their final gift. My heart raced. We are not together. Not like that. No? He stepped closer. Then why does my heart race every time you walk into a room? Why do I think about you constantly? Why does my daughter love you like you are already her mother? Alexei, I know I am not what you would choose. A man with my history, my business, my darkness. You deserve someone clean. Someone safe. I do not want safe. The words came out before I could stop them. I want real. I want someone who looks at me like I matter. Who trusts me with his secrets and his daughter and his broken heart. You have that. All of it. He cupped my face in his hands. You have had it since the moment you braided my daughter's hair and gave her back her smile. When he kissed me, it felt like coming home, like every thread in my life had been leading to this moment, like our grandmothers were watching, somewhere, smiling at what they had woven together. We returned to New York as different people. Kiss in Portland had changed everything. The walls between us had crumbled, and what remained was something raw and real and terrifying in its intensity. On the flight home, Alexei held my hand like he was afraid I might disappear if he let go. Mila is going to be insufferable, he said. She has been hoping for this since the day she met you. How do you know? Because she told me. Every night. In great detail. He smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. She drew pictures of us together. You, me, her. A family. She hung them in her room. My heart clenched. She barely knows me. Children know things adults forget how to see. They recognize love when it is real. He lifted my hand to his lips. And this is real. What I feel for you. What you make me feel. It is the most real thing I have experienced since Katia disappeared. I feel it too. I need you to understand that I do not know your world. The danger, the business, whatever it is you do when you are not with me. I do not know if I can handle that. You do not have to handle it. That part of my life stays separate. Always has, always will. His expression grew serious. Mila's mother could not accept the divide. She wanted all of me or none of me. When she realized she could not have all, she chose none and walked away. That was her loss. It was. But it also taught me something. The people I love need to be protected from what I do, not involved in it. If you are with me, you will never have to see that side. I promise. And if danger comes anyway, like it did for Katia, then I will burn the world down to keep you safe. His voice was cold, certain. No one touches what is mine. Not ever. I should have been frightened by the violence in his words. Instead, I felt something warm spread through my chest. Protected. Valued. Chosen. Okay, I said quietly. I trust you. That is all I need. Mila's reaction was everything Alexei had predicted and more. She met us at the door, practically vibrating with excitement, and the moment she saw our joined hands, she let out a shriek that could have shattered glass. I knew it. I knew it. Irina, I told you. I told you Papa was going to marry Miss Sarah. Nobody said anything about marriage, Alexei protested, but he was smiling. But you are holding hands. That means you are in love. And when people are in love, they get married, and then we will be a real family, and Miss Sarah will be my mama. She threw herself at me, wrapping her arms around my waist. Please say you will be my mama. Please, please, please. I crouched down to her level, taking her small face in my hands. Slow down, little one. Your papa and I are just starting to figure this out. Marriage is a big step. But you love him, right? And he loves you. I looked up at Alexei, who was watching us with an expression of such tenderness it made my breath catch. Yes, I admitted. I love him. And Papa loves you. He told me. He said you were the most amazing woman he ever met, and he was going to try very hard to make you stay forever. Did he now? I raised an eyebrow at Alexei, who had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I may have mentioned something along those lines. Before or after you kissed me in Portland? Before. Significantly before. He crouched down beside us, including himself in our little circle. Mila, I do love Sarah. Very much. And I hope she will be part of our family for a long time. But we need to take things slowly. Get to know each other properly. Make sure this is right for all of us. It is right, Mila said with absolute certainty. I already know. My heart told me the first day she braided my hair. Your heart is very smart, I said, kissing her forehead. But sometimes hearts need time to be sure. Can you be patient? She sighed dramatically. I suppose. But not too patient. I have been waiting for a mama for a very long time. I know, baby. I know. The months that followed were the happiest of my life. I kept my salon but spent most of my free time at the Volkov penthouse. Mila and I developed rituals. Hair braiding every morning before school. Cooking lessons on weekends. Story time every night when I stayed over, which was increasingly often. Alexei was attentive in ways I had not expected from a man of his position. He remembered small things. My favorite flowers. Coffee I liked. The way I hummed when I was concentrating on a complicated braid. He paid attention to me in a way no one ever had before. "You are spoiling me," I told him one evening after he surprised me with a necklace that probably cost more than my salon. "Impossible. You cannot spoil someone who deserves everything. I am serious. I do not need expensive gifts. I know you do not need them. That is why I want to give them." He clasped the necklace around my neck, his fingers lingering on my skin. "You gave me my sister back. You gave my daughter a mother figure. You gave me hope when I had none left. What is a necklace compared to that? It is too much. It is not enough. Nothing will ever be enough." He turned me to face him. "But I will spend the rest of my life trying anyway." When he kissed me, I stopped protesting about the necklace. 3 months into our relationship, Katia came to visit. She brought her whole family, the first time she had returned to New York since her disappearance 18 years ago. The reunion between her and Alexei had been emotional in Portland, but seeing her in their childhood home was something else entirely. "It looks the same," she said, wandering through the penthouse with tears in her eyes. "The furniture is different, but the bones are the same. The view. The light." She stopped at a window overlooking the city. "I used to stand right here and dream about escaping. Never thought I actually would." "I would have helped you," Alexei said quietly. "If you had told me about Dmitri, I would have believed you. I know that now. I did not know it then." She turned to face him. "I was 15. I was scared. And our parents." She shook her head. "Mama believed me eventually. But Papa never would have accepted it. Dmitri was too important to him. Papa is dead. I know," Mama told me before she passed. Katia's face was sad. "She came to see me once, you know, in Portland, when you were away on business. She made me promise never to tell you." "What did she say?" "That she was sorry. That she had failed me. That protecting the family name had cost her something she could never get back." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "She died 3 months later. I like to think seeing me gave her some peace." Alexei pulled his sister into his arms. "I wish you had told me. I wish I could have said goodbye to her knowing the truth. Would it have changed anything? It would have changed everything. I would have known she was not the cold, uncaring mother I thought she was. I would have understood why she seemed so sad all the time. She loved us. In her own broken way, she loved us more than anything." I watched them from across the room, giving them space for this private grief. Mila was playing with her cousins in the other room, their laughter a bright counterpoint to the heavy emotions between the siblings. Later that evening, Katia found me alone in the kitchen. "Thank you," she said, "for finding me, for bringing him back to me. I just found a box. The rest was your grandmother and mine." "No, the rest was you. Your willingness to help a stranger. Your patience with the search. Your—" She smiled knowingly. "Your love for my brother. Is it that obvious? To everyone except apparently you too." She laughed. "He has changed since you came into his life. The darkness is still there, will always be there, but now there is light too. You gave him that. He gave me just as much. Good. That is how it should be." She took my hand. "Our grandmothers started a chain of women protecting women. You are part of that chain now. Whatever happens, whatever challenges come, remember that you are not alone. You have generations of strong women standing behind you." Her words stayed with me long after she returned to Portland. 6 months after our first kiss, everything almost fell apart. I was at the salon, finishing with a client, when 3 men walked through the door. They were clearly not there for haircuts. The way they moved, the bulge of weapons under their jackets, the cold look in their eyes. "Sarah Yilmaz." The leader spoke with a heavy accent. You will come with us. I am with a client. The client is leaving. He jerked his head, and one of his men grabbed my terrified customer, shoving her toward the door. Now, come with us. Alexei Volkov needs to learn what happens when he takes what belongs to others. Fear flooded through me, but beneath it was something else. Anger. These men thought they could use me as a pawn. Thought they could threaten the family I'd claimed as my own. No. The leader blinked. What did you say? I said no. I am not going anywhere with you. You do not have a choice. Everyone has a choice. I reached for my phone. And my choice is to call the man you just threatened and let him deal with you himself. The leader laughed. You think we are afraid of Volkov? I think you should be. I did not get a chance to make the call. The door burst open and Victor was there, followed by 4 more of Alexei's men. Confrontation was brief and brutal. By the time Alexei himself arrived, the 3 intruders were on their knees, hands bound, blood dripping from various wounds. Are you hurt? Alexei grabbed me, running his hands over my body, checking for damage. I am fine. They did not touch me. They threatened you. That is enough. His eyes were ice cold as he turned to the men on the ground. You work for Petrov. Yes. The leader spat blood. Petrov sends his regards. Says you should have stayed out of his business. His business is now my business. As is his life. Alexei crouched down, his voice dropping to something terrifying. You came after my family. My woman. For that, there is only one response. Alexei. I touched his arm. Not here. Not in my salon. He looked at me, the rage in his eyes warring with something softer. Victor. Take them somewhere private. I will deal with them later. The men were dragged away. The salon was a mess, chairs overturned, products scattered. But I was alive. I was safe. Alexei pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. I almost lost you. You did not. I am right here. If they had hurt you. His voice broke. If anything had happened, it did not. Your people protected me. You protected me. I pulled back to look at his face. This is your world. I knew that when I chose you. I accepted the risks. You should not have to accept risks like this. But I do. 'Cause you are worth it. Because Mila is worth it. Because what we have is worth fighting for. Kissed him softly. I am not going anywhere. No matter who threatens us. No matter what happens. I choose this. I choose you. His forehead dropped to mine. I love you. More than I thought I was capable of loving anyone. I love you too. Then marry me. The words hung in the air. My heart stopped. What? Marry me. Not someday. Not when the timing is right. Now. Immediately. I do not want to spend another day without knowing you are mine completely. Alexei, we have only been together 6 months. I have known you were the one since the day you braided my daughter's hair. Since you looked at me without fear and demanded answers about my grandmother. Since you refused to give up until you found my sister. He cupped my face in his hands. 6 months or 6 years, it does not matter. You are my future. The only future I want. I thought about my grandmother. About the chain of women protecting women. About Mila waiting at home hoping I would become her mother. Yes. His face transformed with joy. Yes. Yes, I will marry you. Yes, I will be your wife. Yes, I will spend the rest of my life braiding your daughter's hair and loving you and building a family together. He kissed me in my destroyed salon, surrounded by chaos and violence, and somehow it was perfect. 'Cause love does not wait for perfect moments. Love creates them. proposal changed everything and nothing, everything because now there was a ring on my finger, a diamond surrounded by sapphires that Alexei said reminded him of my eyes. Everything because Mila screamed so loud when we told her that Victor came running with his hand on his gun, nothing because our daily life continued much as before. I still ran my salon, still spent evenings at the penthouse, still braided Mila's hair every morning. The only difference was the certainty. The knowledge that this was permanent. That I was not just visiting this family but becoming part of it. "I want a big wedding," Mila announced at breakfast 3 days after the proposal. "With flowers everywhere. And a huge cake. And I want to be the flower girl. And I want to wear a dress that matches yours." "That sounds expensive," I said, glancing at Alexei. "The money is not an issue." He did not look up from his newspaper. "Whatever Mila wants, Mila gets. You are going to spoil her. She deserves to be spoiled. She has had enough disappointment in her life." He set down the paper, his expression softening. "Besides, I have been waiting my whole life to give someone a proper wedding." Mila's mother refused. Said ceremonies were a waste of time and money. "What did you want?" "I wanted to stand in front of everyone I knew and declare my love publicly. To make vows and mean them. To dance with my wife while our families celebrated." His pale eyes met mine. "I want that with you. If you are willing." I thought about my grandmother's small wedding, the photograph she had shown me of her and my grandfather standing before a village elder in Turkey. Simple but meaningful. Full of love. I want that too. But maybe not huge. Something intimate. People we actually care about. Katia will come. Of course. And her family. And whatever trusted people you want to invite. I reached across the table to take his hand. "This is about us. About starting our life together. I do not need extravagance to feel special. You are special. With or without extravagance." Kissed my knuckles. "But I reserve the right to spoil you anyway. I suppose I can live with that." We planned the wedding for spring. 4 months gave us enough time to prepare without the chaos of a rushed ceremony. I closed the salon for a week to focus on details, though Mila proved to be the most enthusiastic wedding planner in history. "The flowers should be white and blue," she declared, spreading magazine clippings across the living room floor. "White for purity and blue for your eyes. And Papa's eyes. We all have blue eyes, so it makes sense." "My eyes are hazel," I pointed out. "They have blue in them." I checked. She held up a photo of an elaborate floral arrangement. "What about this?" "For the tables?" "That is beautiful but might be too much." "There is no such thing as too much at a wedding," Irina told me. She pulled out another clipping. "And your dress should have lace. Lots of lace. Like a princess." I thought I was going to be a queen. "Queens can have lace too. Queens can have anything they want." She looked up at me with those serious blue eyes. "You are going to be the most beautiful bride ever. Even more beautiful than Cinderella. That is a high bar to clear. You will clear it. I know you will." Her confidence was infectious. By the end of our planning session, I was actually excited about the dress shopping, the flower selection, all the details I had previously thought of as stressful obligations. Alexei watched from the doorway, a small smile on his face. "Having fun?" "Your daughter is a menace." "I know." I could not be prouder. He joined us on the floor, examining the magazine clippings with exaggerated seriousness. "I have a suggestion." "What?" Mila and I asked in unison. "The venue." "I know you wanted something intimate, but I was thinking—" He pulled out his phone, showing us a photograph. "This estate in the Hudson Valley belonged to my grandmother Anya. I inherited it when she died but never did anything with it. I thought maybe the photograph showed a beautiful old house surrounded by gardens, stone walls covered in ivy, a terrace overlooking rolling hills. The kind of place that looked like it had been waiting centuries for a wedding. "It is perfect," I breathed. "We could have the ceremony in the garden. The reception on the terrace. Katia could stay in the main house with her family." He looked at me hopefully. "What do you think?" "I think our grandmothers would love that. Being married at Anya's house, with the braiding legacy present in everything we do." "Can I see my room?" Mila demanded. "The one where I will get ready? Is there a room for the flower girl?" "There are 12 bedrooms. You can have whichever one you want. I want the one with the best view, so I can see everything happening." "Done." She threw her arms around his neck. "Thank you, Papa. This is going to be the best wedding ever." "Yes," he said, meeting my eyes over her head. "It is." The day arrived faster than I expected. Spring had painted the Hudson Valley in shades of green and gold, the gardens blooming with the flowers Mila had chosen. White roses and blue hydrangeas filled every corner, their scent mixing with the clean country air. I stood in front of the mirror in the bridal suite, hardly recognizing the woman looking back at me. The dress was everything Mila had demanded and more. Lace and silk, fitted bodice, flowing skirt. My hair was woven into an elaborate style that incorporated elements of the Seven Rivers crown, a tribute to the grandmothers who had brought us together. "You look like a goddess." I turned to find Katia in the doorway, tears already streaming down her face. "Do not cry. You will make me cry and then my makeup will be ruined." "Too late for that." She crossed the room and took my hands. "I never thought I would see this. My brother happy. In love. Building a real family. After everything we went through, he found his way. You both did. 'Cause of you. 'Cause you did not give up on that box of letters. Because you were brave enough to love a dangerous man." She squeezed my hands. "My grandmothers would be so proud. Ice and Anya, watching from wherever they are. Seeing their legacy continue. I hope so. I hope they know. They know." Katia touched the crown braid in my hair. "This tells them. Every strand, every weave. It is a message across time. A promise that their love was not wasted." A knock at the door interrupted us. Victor's voice came through. "Miss Sarah?" "It is time." I took a deep breath. "Ready?" "More than ready." The ceremony was everything I had dreamed and more. The garden was filled with people who mattered. Katia and her family in the front row. Victor standing beside Alexei as his best man. Staff from my salon who had become like family. A small group of Alexei's trusted associates, the ones he considered brothers, and Mila walking down the aisle ahead of me, scattering rose petals with the concentration of a surgeon performing delicate operation, but I barely noticed any of them. Because at the end of the aisle stood Alexei, and the look on his face stole every thought from my mind. He was crying. This man who controlled empires, who made enemies tremble, who had survived 18 years of grief without breaking. He was standing at the altar with tears streaming down his face, looking at me like I was the answer to every prayer he had ever whispered. I reached him and he took my hands, not caring that everyone could see his emotion. "You came," he whispered. "Where else would I be? I spent so long believing I did not deserve this. Happiness. Love. A family that chose me instead of being born to me." His voice cracked. "And then you walked into my daughter's life with your braids and your patience and your stubborn refusal to be afraid of me." I was a little afraid. "No. You were never afraid. That is what made me fall in love with you." He lifted my hands to his lips. "Thank you. For seeing me. For staying. For becoming everything I never knew I needed." The officiant cleared his throat gently. "Perhaps we should proceed with the ceremony?" Nervous laughter rippled through the guests. Even Alexei smiled, wiping his eyes. "Yes, let us make this official." We spoke our vows. Traditional in some ways, personal in others. I promised to braid more than just hair, to weave my life with his until we were inseparable. He promised to protect me not just with his strength but with his vulnerability, to let me see the man beneath the monster. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, Mila cheered so loudly that birds scattered from the nearby trees. "I now have a mama," she announced to everyone within hearing range. "A real mama who loves me and braids my hair and is never going to leave." I crouched down to her level, still in my wedding dress, not caring about the grass stains. "Never," I confirmed. "I am yours forever." She threw her arms around my neck. "Best wedding ever." "Best family ever," I corrected. "That too." The reception lasted until midnight. We danced and ate and celebrated until my feet ached and my voice was hoarse from laughing. Katia made a toast that had everyone in tears. Victor made a toast that was surprisingly tender for a man of his profession. Mila insisted on giving her own speech, which consisted mainly of listing all the ways I was better than Cinderella, but my favorite moment came later. When the guests had departed and Mila had finally fallen asleep in one of the 12 bedrooms, Alexei and I stood on the terrace, looking out over the moonlit gardens. "My grandmother used to stand here," he said quietly. "She would look at this view and talk about the friend she missed. The woman from Turkey who understood her like no one else. Ice. Yes, they only knew each other for a few years, but those years changed both their lives. Created connections that lasted generations." I leaned against him, feeling his arm wrap around my shoulders. "Do you think they knew that their friendship would lead to this?" "I think they hoped. I think every time they taught someone the 7 Rivers braid, every time they helped a woman escape, every time they passed on their traditions, they were hoping that somehow, someday, it would lead to something beautiful. It did." I looked up at him. "It led to us." "Yes." He kissed my forehead. "It led to us." We stood there until the moon set, 2 people woven together by the love of women they had never met, carrying forward a legacy of protection and connection and hope our grandmothers had. Started a braid. We would make sure it never unraveled. 2 years later, the salon had grown beyond anything I had imagined. What started as a tiny space in Brooklyn was now 3 locations across the city, each one specializing in the braiding techniques my grandmother had taught me. I had trained a dozen stylists, all women, all carrying forward the traditions that had been passed down through generations. We called ourselves the Crown Collective. Each salon had a photograph in the entrance. Ice and Anya, arm in arm, Istanbul 1987. Beneath it, a small plaque explaining the origin of our signature style. The 7 Rivers Crown. A blessing passed between women who protect each other. Clients came from all over the world to experience it. Some were simply looking for beautiful hair. Others came seeking something deeper. Women escaping bad situations. Women starting over. Women who needed to feel powerful and protected. We helped all of them. "You have built an empire," Alexei said one evening, reviewing the quarterly numbers I had spread across our dining table. "A legitimate one. I am both proud and slightly jealous." "Jealous?" "You control half the businesses in New York." "Yes, but none of them make people happy the way yours do." He set down the papers, pulling me onto his lap. "Every client leaves your salon feeling beautiful, feeling strong. That is a gift I cannot give with any of my ventures. You give it in other ways. To me. To Mila." "Speaking of Mila," he glanced at the clock. "She should be home from school soon. She has been very mysterious lately. Keeps talking about a surprise." "I know. She has been planning something for weeks. Made me promise not to peek in her room." As if summoned, the front door burst open and Mila flew in, backpack bouncing, face flushed with excitement. "Mama. Papa. I finished it. Project I have been working on. Come see, come see." She was 8 now, tall for her age, with her father's pale blue eyes and her grandmother Anya's determined chin. Her blonde hair hung in the 7 Rivers crown I braided for her every morning, a style she insisted on even when her classmates teased her for being different. "Different is good," she always said. "Different means special." We followed her to her room, where a large poster board dominated her desk. She had been working on it for her school's heritage project, researching our family history with an intensity that surprised even her teachers. Look! She pointed proudly at her creation. The poster was covered in photographs, drawings, and carefully written text. The center were two images: Ice and Anya in Istanbul. Beneath them, lines branched out like a tree, connecting names and faces across generations and continents. I traced everything, Mila explained, starting with great-great-grandmother Anya and Baba and Ice, how they met in Istanbul, how they taught each other the braid, how Anya taught Aunt Katia and Ice taught Mama. This is incredible, sweetheart. I crouched down to examine the details. You did all this research yourself? Katia helped. She sent me pictures and stories, and I used the letters from Baban's box. She pointed to a section labeled The Crown Network. Did you know there were other women too? Not just Anya and Ice? A whole group of them across different countries who helped women escape bad situations? I knew there were others, but I never found details. Katia found them in Grandmother Vera's papers after she died. There were at least 12 women in the network, maybe more. They used hair braiding as a way to identify each other. A secret code. Alexei had gone very still beside me. A secret code? If you wore the Seven Rivers crown, it meant you were part of the network, or that you needed help from the network. It was like a signal that only certain women could read. Mila beamed with pride. Is that not amazing? Our braid is like a secret handshake. I thought about all the women who had come into my salon over the years. The ones who seemed to recognize the style with something more than casual interest. The ones who left looking not just beautiful but relieved. Had some of them been looking for the network? Had they found it without me even knowing? You should keep researching, I told Mila. This is important history. It deserves to be preserved. I am going to. My teacher says I should write a book someday about the women who protected other women using hair braids. She hugged me tightly. And you can help me, Mama. You are part of the story now, too. We all are, Alexei said quietly. Every one of us, woven together. That summer, we traveled to Turkey, not just any part of Turkey. To Ardahan, my grandmother's village in the mountains near the borders with Georgia and Armenia. The place where she had learned the braiding tradition she eventually shared with Anya. Getting there required a long flight to Istanbul, then a smaller plane to Kars, then hours of driving through increasingly remote mountain roads. But when we finally arrived, I understood why my grandmother had spoken of this place with such longing. It was breathtaking: green mountains rising towards snow-capped peaks, villages of stone houses clinging to hillsides, air so clean it almost hurt to breathe after years in New York. This is where Baban grew up. Mila pressed her face to the car window, trying to see everything at once. It looks like a fairy tale. Does, I agreed. But it was also hard. Cold winters. Difficult farming. People here had to be tough to survive. Like Baban. She was tough. Yes, she was. We stayed with distant relatives I had never met, elderly cousins of my grandmother who welcomed us with overwhelming hospitality. They fed us constantly, showed us photographs, told stories of Ice as a young girl learning to braid from her mother and grandmother. She was the best of us, one of them said, an ancient woman named Fatma who claimed to be 97 but might have been older. Her fingers were magic. She could look at any pattern and recreate it perfectly. And she had the gift. The gift? The seeing. She could look at a woman and know what she needed. What style would make her feel powerful? What braid would help her find her courage? Fatma shook her head. We were not surprised when she left. Her gift was too big for this small village. She was meant for bigger things. She built a whole network, I said. Women helping women across the world. I know. She wrote to us sometimes. Told us about her work, about the women she saved. Fatma smiled, revealing gaps where teeth had been. She was proud of you, you know. She spoke of her granddaughter often. Said you had the gift too. Tears blurred my vision. I wish I had known. While she was alive. I wish she had told me everything. Some things cannot be told. They must be discovered. Fatma patted my hand with her weathered fingers. She gave you the braids, the stories, techniques. Everything else you were meant to find yourself. That is how the gift works. It reveals itself when you are ready. On our last day in Ardahan, we climbed to a meadow overlooking the village. Mila ran ahead, chasing butterflies, her blonde hair loose for once, streaming behind her in the mountain wind. Alexei walked beside me, holding my hand, unusually quiet. What are you thinking? I asked. About legacy. About all the people who came before us, whose choices led to this moment. He stopped, turning to face me. There is something I need to tell you. My heart skipped. That sounds serious. It is. But good serious. He took a deep breath. I have been making changes. To my business. Shifting things. Moving away from the darker operations. What do you mean? I mean that I want to build something Mila can be proud of. Something you can be proud of. Something that does not require me to do things that would make me ashamed to meet your grandmother in the afterlife. He smiled slightly. Victor thinks I have gone soft. Maybe I have. But I watched you build your salon empire, watched you create something that helps people instead of hurting them, and I realized I wanted that too. Alexei, it will take time. Years, probably. There are obligations I cannot simply walk away from. But the trajectory is changing. Slowly, carefully, we are becoming legitimate. He cupped my face in his hands. I want to deserve you. I want to deserve this family. And I want our children to never have to wonder if their father is a monster. Our children. His eyes sparkled. Did I not mention? I was hoping we might discuss expanding our family. If you are interested. You want more children? I want everything with you. More children. More years. The more mornings waking up to your face and more evenings watching you braid Mila's hair. Kissed me softly. I want forever. Is that too much to ask? I thought about my grandmother building a network of protection from nothing. About Anya finding friendship in a foreign city. About Katia surviving unspeakable trauma and creating a beautiful life anyway. The women in my family did not settle for less. They fought for more. It is not too much, I said. It is exactly right. 9 months later, our son was born that we named him Amir Nikolai Volkov. Amir for the Turkish heritage he carried from my side, Nikolai for Alexei's father. He had his father's platinum hair and my hazel eyes, a perfect blend of the cultures that had intertwined to create him. Mila was obsessed with him. I am going to teach him everything, she announced, holding him with exaggerated care. How to braid hair. How to be brave. How to protect people who need protecting. He is a week old, Alexei pointed out. Maybe start with sleeping through the night. That too. But the important stuff comes first. Katia flew in from Portland for the birth, her own children in tow. Little Alexei, now 14, and Rosa 11, both of whom had adopted Mila as the coolest older cousin in existence. The family keeps growing, Katia observed, watching all the children gathered around the baby. A generation ago, we were scattered and broken. Now look at us. Look at what they started, I said, thinking of our grandmothers. A friendship in Istanbul that became a network that became a family. A braid, Katia said softly. Separate strands woven together to make something stronger. Exactly. That night, after everyone was asleep and the house was finally quiet, I sat in the nursery holding Amir, watching him breathe. You have a big family, I whispered to him. Grandmothers who never met you but loved you anyway. a legacy of brave women who protected each other across continents and generations, and a sister who is already planning your entire education in hairstyling. He yawned, completely unimpressed by the magnitude of his heritage. You will understand someday. When you are older. When you have children of your own. I kissed his forehead. For now, just know that you are loved. So completely, so fiercely loved. Alexei appeared in the doorway, watching us with soft eyes. Come to bed. He will wake you up soon enough. I know. I just wanted one more moment. He crossed the room and wrapped his arms around both of us, completing the circle. Thank you, he murmured against my hair. For what? For everything. For finding me. For staying. For giving me a family I never knew I was missing. You gave me the same. Then we are even. We are more than even. I leaned back against his chest, our son cradled between us. We are complete. 5 years later, Mila stood in front of my mirror, 13 years old and beautiful, while I wove her hair into the 7 rivers crown she had worn since the day we met. Tell me the story again, she said. About how you and Papa found each other. You have heard it 1,000 times. I know. But I like hearing it. She met my eyes in the mirror. It reminds me that magic is real. So I told her again. About a little girl lost in a salon. About a braid that connected families across generations. About grandmothers who built networks of protection. About love that grew from mystery and bloomed into forever. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. I am going to carry it forward, she said finally. The braid. The legacy. Protection. When I grow up, I am going to help women too. Just like you and Baba and Ice and great-grandmother Anya. I know you will. And I will teach Amir. And whatever other siblings come along. She grinned. You are pregnant again, right? I heard you and Papa talking last night. I laughed, caught. We were going to tell you tonight. I already knew. I can always tell. She turned to face me, this child who had become my daughter, this girl who carried forward everything that mattered. I love you, Mama. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for letting me in. I pulled her into a hug. Now go finish getting ready. Your father is taking us all to dinner to celebrate. She ran off, and I stood alone in front of the mirror, looking at the woman I had become. A wife. A mother. A keeper of traditions. A single strand in a braid that stretched back generations and forward into futures I could not yet imagine. My grandmother had started this. Anya had continued it. Katia had survived because of it, and now it was mine to carry forward. 1 braid at a time. 1 woman at a time. 1 love at a time, forever. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed She Braided His Daughter's Hair in a Style No One Knew, please do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more thrilling